I always preach to the Democratic members that in the minority we have three very sacred duties. It's our duty to help the governing majority when it's for the good of the state. It's our duty to critique you so your policies get better, critique you in the public sphere, and it's our duty to provide alternatives. So this morning I thought it was very important that I come up here and maybe assign you a few midterm grades. If you recall at the beginning of the session, House Democrats thought that we needed to focus on three things this legislative session: putting the middle class first this time. I originally said fix the Tony Bennett mistakes, but I've softened my rhetoric a little bit. It's about reinforcing traditional public schools. And then I thought that we really, for the good of the state, needed a 2-year break from those divisive social issues that sometimes come before us. But before I get into this, I do want to thank the Speaker again for, I think, some of the civil tone that we've had this session. We've had a rough past few years, very partisan issues, very difficult ones, but I think that we're trying to find those odd couples, trying to work together for the good of Indiana, and that's very important, because I have news for you, and this is not a prediction, it's a calculation. We're going to have more than 31 members at some point in the coming years. Believe it or not, we have statisticians that work for us too. And one thing I've learned is that Glenda Ritz, our Democratic state superintendent, won the overwhelming majority of House districts. If you go look at the numbers in your own districts, Glenda Ritz won an awful lot of them. Joe Donnelly won about half the House districts. John Gregg, our good friend, won a substantial portion. So the message there is there are a lot of ticket splitters here in this state. So the civility, the ability to work together, that's going to serve us well in the coming years, because the people of Indiana vote that way and they expect it. And we're going to keep doing it. Speaker, I've appreciated the fact that you've been willing to meet with me on matters of concern. And you haven't always done what I've asked, but you've listened. You've listened, that matters. But I want to talk a little bit about, I'm going to get out my red marker right here, and I'm not going to say all bad things. I'm going to say a few bad things, but not all bad ones. So you can relax in your seats a little bit, and we'll walk through how we've done so far. Putting the middle class first. I'm going to step over here. I wanted to give you a D-, but instead, in the spirit of cooperation, I'm going to give you we've had some missed opportunities so far in this session. We did have an opportunity to discuss and vote on Governor Pence's proposed middle-class tax cut. You had a chance to vote for a middle-class tax cut that we proposed, and we missed that opportunity. Maybe it will happen again before the end of session, and that's why I'm giving you incomplete, one of the reasons, because it's a discussion going to continue. We've missed an opportunity to vote on the biggest jobs bill of a generation, which is health care expansion. This isn't my number, it's the Indiana Hospital Association's number. 30,000 private sector jobs. 30,000 new tax-paying citizens who can raise their families and take care of each other. We've missed that opportunity so far. Now, I think given the chance, I think many of you will vote to expand our health care system here in Indiana. But that's an incomplete because I'm hoping that opportunity still arises. Just yesterday, Representative Clear, I told Governor Pence, look, we know we have philosophical disagreements about the Affordable Care Act, but we will help you do it your way if we insure every citizen in this state so the taxpayers don't have to keep paying to send them to the emergency room, so the premium payers, like Representative Delaney, don't have to keep paying to send them to the emergency room. We can't afford this costly system anymore. We have to embrace this opportunity to help the middle class through jobs, help the middle class by keeping them out of the emergency room, and help the middle class so they don't have to keep paying to send our uninsured and underinsured citizens to the most wildly and costly healthcare system that have existed here in Indiana in recent decades. We have to take that opportunity. But the reason I'm giving you incomplete is I'm seeing good signs from this side of the aisle. Representative Burton, don't take this the wrong way, but you had a bill that would have raised interest rates on folks. You helped us vote it down. That's a good thing. Representative Turner, don't take this the wrong way, but you had a measure that would have shifted property tax burdens from businesses onto homeowners. You helped us vote that down and take it out of the bill. That's a good thing, and I want to applaud you for that. That's why you get an incomplete, because you haven't done that great, but you're trying. All right, now you're going to get your bad grade before you get your good grade. Reinforcing traditional public schools. I wanted to give you a D, but my caucus insisted you get a D minus. Okay. No, that's not the good grade. Good grade's coming up. The reason you get a D, you get the lowest passing grade. And I'm going to tell you why you get the lowest passing grade in passing, because you did try to add more money for K through 12 education after the decimation of the past few years. Chairman Brown, you did make an effort there, and you did a little better than what the governor proposed. Now, it's not anywhere close to what needs to be done, because we can't forget that Governor Daniels needlessly cut $300 million a year from the school formula. Promised dollars, promised investments in public schools were not made, and we're not making that up. We're inching in the right direction, and that's why you just avoid getting the F. But the bigger problem is you're funding 3 school systems. Okay, don't forget that, guys. You're funding 3 school systems. You've got the traditional public schools where most of the kids are. You just saw them in here. If you help them, they do better. But you're also funding this sort of Wild West deregulated charter school system. And you're also funding now private schools through the voucher program. I know you think you're not doing it directly, but is there a major difference between giving the money straight to the school or giving the check to the kid to give to the school? Okay, but we're not going to debate the philosophy of vouchers anymore. But we are going to debate the cost. We're going to debate the cost. And you're funding 3 school systems with less money. So we can't forget that. But I also want to note you voted down some very anti-public school legislation. Things that would hurt the traditional classrooms, and I want to applaud you for that. So you get a D minus instead of an F. Okay? You're still in the ball game, guys. Now, let's talk about the final thing. And I want to give a little bit of positive reinforcement. I asked that we take a 2-year break from these divisive social issues, and I told you, you know what they are, and I know what they are, and I'm not going to restate them here. But here's your good grade. You get a B plus, guys. You get a B plus.
Is that grade good for the session, or is that subject to reevaluation?
That's a midterm grade. Now I'm going to explain. Now I'm going to explain to you how it could turn to an F. Look, I think in spirit, we're not getting the policy right, but in spirit, I think we're working together to rebuild Indiana's economy. I think we want the same things. Our methodology is wildly different, but I think there's a shared interest in doing that. But as I warned, when you bring up the most divisive social issues, it crowds out the public discussion. It creates bad feelings here in this chamber. It makes it harder to work together. And guys, if we start talking about transvaginal ultrasounds in the second half of the session, this will turn to an F. Because that's what the media attention will be on. We won't be able to talk about how we get things right for this state, and we'll instead be talking about that. And it won't have a good ending. So I urge you to keep up this good grade. You've been doing well so far, and I credit you, Mr. Speaker, for doing that, because I've asked you to show restraint, and you've done it thus far. but we need to stay away from those issues. We need to stay away from the divisive social issues. We need to stay away from naked power grabs, political power grabs. And if we do that, I think we're going to end up having a pretty good session, even if the other grades don't come up as much as they should. We need to embrace an alternative economic philosophy here in this state, and we need to focus on it. And I think you're listening a little bit. Building this state cannot just be about putting money and power in the hands of the right people in the hopes that they will do good things for the rest of us. It has to be about empowering the middle class and people trying to get into the middle class so they can spend their paychecks, spend fair wages at other businesses, grow jobs for other people, and make each other's lives better. Let's focus on that. We'll disagree and debate the policy, but if that's what we're working towards, I think we're going to have a better Indiana, and I think we're going to have a better House of Representatives. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Please listen to what I'm saying. It's with the best intent. As we get more than 31 members over here, this will happen in the next few cycles, I think we have a course that we can continue on because we care about the state, and I know that you do too. And God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pelath.